All right. So
Oh,
yeah,
look at that. Press OK. Yes.
so Kay, is it? It's Kay.
Yes. Yep. Okay.
Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate you, jumping on. And the point of this was to just hear from some of our customers about how their experience has been with surf paints, and just to hear a little bit about what you use the pens for. So we get all types, from actual artists themselves to people that are just passionate and love doing it in their studio in the backyard, or have their own little studio space. But then we also get people customizing surfboards. They customize their kayaks. And then we get the tradies that are using it on their PVC pipe, or using them for touch up in their painting
Yep.
job. So, yeah, we get all walks of life. And I just thought I'd reach out and see kind of what's your story, where are you based in Australia, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Fine. Fine. Where I'm based in Australia, at a remote rural place called Lower Creek. It's halfway between Armidale and Kempsey on the Macleay River.
Yep.
So we live off grid, basically in a forest. And yeah, I've been a professional artist and a teacher and airbrush artist since, I started airbrushing cars and surfboards and guitars and that sort of thing in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, doing custom artwork and that sort of thing, and motorcycles as well.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, being an artist, any paints or media, I experiment. And I saw surf paints online, and I thought, oh, that's a brilliant idea, because I'd been using paint pens that you get from hardware stores and that sort of thing,
Yep.
which were very limited and not very good for my purpose. And so I thought, oh, I'll experiment with some surf paints.
Interesting.
So I bought the kit and I took it to an art workshop,
Yep.
and there was uh, half a dozen people there who then asked me, what on earth are these things? And I was using canvases. I don't know if you can see in the background there, I've got canvases, and I do landscape realism
Okay.
predominantly now. And I used the paint pens um, on the canvas, the like canvas panels, and then I wet it and blend the colors together with a paintbrush. So I got a very good gradation of a sky from the darker color blue to the horizon, which was paler. And people started watching me using this. It almost turned into almost like a demonstration. And then while it was still wet, using the white, put the white in, and it being very fluid, it bled in. And then I got water pens and then molded that in, and it gave a brilliant cloud effect with it. So
Yeah.
very realistic and very, I want to say malleable. You could push it around on the canvas really, really well. Um, and then further down in the realism side of it, I used the greens and a brown on the land. This is all as a background, and let it bleed up. You know, when you put masking tape on a hard surface and it bleeds underneath and you get that spidery
Yep.
effect, I let it do that. And
Cool.
then that became grass and twigs and that sort of thing. So they're quite versatile. So yeah, kudos to you for actually coming up with these things. They're brilliant. So what I've been doing now is the projects that I have on on the go, I did an experiment with recycling helmets from the RFS.
Okay.
They were upgrading all their helmets because I'm a member of the RFS, and they were going to just throw them out. So I got a whole lot from them. From our brigade, there was a dozen. So I got those dozen helmets, and they're plastic. So scuffed them back and then painted the surface just as a trial and left them out to find out which colours were fugitive. They'd fade. So not many of them. They're still going. I've got them hanging up as planters at the moment. And then I used a watercolor effect on that, painted the helmet with the surf paints, and then sprayed it with a squirty bottle.
Yep.
And it just ran and then blended into each other and was very much like you'd see underneath the water. It was brilliant.
Wow.
So then
That's an advanced technique. I love that. Let's talk about that actually a little bit. The two questions and thank you for sharing that intro.
Yep.
First question I have is the plastic. So you mentioned quickly you scuffed it. Can you tell us, like, when you're working with plastic surface, because it's quite a slippery surface, are you able to just quickly touch on scuffed it? Like, can you just elaborate a little bit more to make sure that the paint sticks?
Oh, yes. Being plastic, actually, can you just hold a second? I have something that I'll grab. Yep, sure.
I would love to actually see
that earlier, didn't I?
No problems. No problems at all.
Right. So this was the initial kit that I got.
Yep.
And it's absolutely chockers now. But I got the sanding block that's included in this kit. And this here is part of the plastic that I have on my motorcycle. So I ride a BMW GS adventure bike, and I call it the Bird. So I'm going to do a custom paintwork on this using the surf paints. Cool. So I've used the sanding block. This one, well used now.
Yeah.
And I've just circular motion and scuff it back.
And that works.
And then that works brilliantly.
Yeah.
And I do that to help the paint key in to the surface.
Yes.
So little grooves and that sort of thing. You'll do it with your surfboards and that sort of thing. Yes. So it keys into that. And then I use the paint pens. And if I need to move it around at all, I'll brush it, hit it with water, and I'm going to do a moonscape or moonlight night with 2 ravens on it.
Wow.
So
that's really cool.
I'll start with the background. Start with the background first and mask it up and use the paint pens and the water technique to give it that misty background. Let that dry thoroughly and then clear coat it so it's sealed. Yes. Go in with maybe a finer grade of wet and dry to give it some more key, scuff it back a bit, and then go in with some more paint pens over the top of that. So you've got a layering effect, but it's all stable.
Yep.
So
do you use the scour pad inside the kit?
Yes, I have.
That's like a lighter buffer.
Yes. When I need to just take it off and just make a very smooth area that's not quite as scuffed back, I'll use the scourer. Yep. And if I make a mistake or that sort of thing, being water-based, I'll just get a sponge or the scourer and
Yes.
just take it off before it's completely dry,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
or I'll use the microfiber towel and just wipe that off. It's really easy to correct mistakes with.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Bit easier than just like the bottled paint and brush, isn't it?
Oh, yes, very much. Yeah. And you can use any variety of techniques with it because they're very, being liquid, like they're very, wouldn't say watery, but milky.
Yeah.
They're really easy to push around. So, and I'll use these water pens as well. So fill these up with water. And if I need
Okay.
to push it around or beat it or anything like that,
That's
I'll use
interesting.
those to move it around.
That's
So,
interesting.
yeah.
I haven't seen the water pens before.
Oh, haven't you?
No.
Okay. Uh, Fully recommend them. You can get them online or art shops and that sort of thing. They have the reservoir that you put the water in, and they have either a very thick tip. They have different grades of tip on them. So to finer, so there's the differences, or you have a point on the tip as well. So yeah, they're good fun to play with, and they work really well with the different size tips and that sort of thing that you have in the paint pens.
That is really cool
So
because I've only seen the sprayers before. I haven't actually seen those pens, but I'm going to look into that. That's really, really cool.
yeah, yeah. So you can put your two colors side by side
Yep.
and get the water pen and just do a blend in
Ah,
between in
ah,
between the two colors,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
or drag out one color in one direction and then use another pen to drag out the color of the second color or other colors in a different direction.
And it saves your nibs
So
being dirty.
yes, yes. And these you can wash these and reuse, and yeah, away you go. So you can keep your nibs clean, and don't have to worry about contamination or cross colors. So
Perfect.
yeah,
Uh,
good.
I'm going to remember that. That is, I might even jot that down. Water pens.
Not a, yep.
Um, okay, so yeah, thank you for explaining the plastic surface and giving us some handy tips. And you can tell you're an experienced artist. Um, I suppose what I wanted to ask as well, whilst we chat, is because you've been painting since the 70s, what did surf paints do that other products have not done? Like, why have you gone? I've tested spray cans, I've tested bottled paints, I've had other paint pens in the past, um, watercolor paints. Like, why surf paints?
Why surf paints? Way back when plastic motorcycle helmets first came out, um, the paints that we had were Duco and acetone based, and pretty toxic and not very friendly to plastics. So if you sprayed a helmet that was plastic then, mm, I'd say 9.8 times out of 10, it would just be, it would melt it.
Yes.
Yes. And having had that experience and with motorcycle plastics and that sort of thing that came out then, they were just plastic. And painting them was a pain in the neck. But these are water based, so they're non toxic. Because you can't smell it, you can't, all of that sort of thing. And it doesn't affect the surface. You still have to prepare the surface and then seal it. And that was a question I was going to ask. You mentioned something about UV stable
UV.
coatings, Clico.
Yeah. So
Um,
you need to varnish it? Is that the question? Or
yeah, yes.
Yes.
So
So,
what is the UV clear coat that you use?
ah, so it depends on the surface. Like you would understand, I'd imagine, is like you've got porous and non-porous.
Yep.
Porous surfaces are permanent upon application, and you don't necessarily need to varnish, but people can to bring out the colors and protect if you're going to be scratching it. And then
Yeah, yeah,
non-porous surfaces like plastic, glass, ceramic, because the paint sits on top, it needs that varnish to trap it in. And so what we
yeah.
recommend is acrylic. Any fast drying acrylic spray tends to be the best varnish because um, if you're experienced, you can use bottled varnish and brush it on, but it can reactivate the paints unless you're experienced artist and allow, good 12 hours for it to fully set and go real light with a bristle brush. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, using these sprays is also great because it does protect you from the Australian elements like the UV, if it's going to be an outdoor project like surfboards. Um,
Yep.
but the beauty of our pens is because they were made in Japan, so they're at the highest quality of paint. They are UV fade resistant. So that was a
Yep.
part of why this formula works so well for outdoor projects is because, yeah, it's designed to resist the sun. But
Excellent.
if you did have our colors, our neon colors in the direct sunlight for, you know, all day, every day, then that's the only time you might experience a little bit of fading. But apart
Yeah.
from that, if you don't use neon colors and you're in the outdoors, our pens just do not fade. They last for ages.
Right, right. Yeah, on the planters and the helmets that I've made, that I've noticed that the neon colors, because I did purposefully leave them in the sun just as a test,
Yes.
and they're brilliant. They're brilliant. The neon, as you said, it hasn't really faded. It's
Yeah.
just lightened up a bit.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
its staying power is really good.
Yes.
Um, and what I plan on doing is, yeah, clear coating, and because this is a motorcycle tank, so you're rubbing on it. So definitely going to clear
Yeah.
coat that.
Yes.
And
100%.
sure, it's yes, and I'm not going to use any neons in it, so
And
it'll be
what
fine.
and what other brand have you tried another paint pen brand?
Um, yes, and I found them to be not as not as hard wearing, if you know what I mean. Like they're not as I want to say vibrant. Um, I can't push them around and use them in as many different applications as I have with this. I've had limited success, but then I found that these ones, I can push them around and use a whole range of different effects to basically only limited by my imagination, really.
What was
Um,
what
so they're
was
really
what was specifically the other paint pens you couldn't the vibrancy or the application? Was it too watery? What was it specifically that surf paints do that your other paint pen brands that you've used in the past couldn't do?
they were too watery. It was more like an ink rather than a paint. So
Interesting.
they're classed as, yeah, a paint pen, but to me, I found it too watery and more like an ink rather than like this is a paint. Yeah. And I found that the hardware paint pens were just too thick and gluggy. So I had the two extremes. So the surf paints fits nicely for me, and covers all the what I need to do with them. So yeah, yeah,
Perfect.
can't speak highly enough.
No, no, that was fantastic. That was good to hear, especially the hardware pens. I
Yeah,
haven't heard too many feedback on hardware pens. I've just heard kind of the art kind of styles you get in, Kmart, Office Works. But
Yeah,
that's interesting to hear too gluggy hardware or too watery
yeah.
on the other extreme. Yeah.
On the other, yeah, yeah.
And we get that a
Um,
lot. We get that a lot. We get a lot of people say it's the formula of surf paints. It's just perfect in terms of its pigmentation, and it's like application goes on like exactly what you said. It's not too watery, but it's not too thick and gluggy. It's that perfect blend in between, and that's why it's so versatile on all these types of surfaces.
yes,
Um, so
yes.
you hit the nail on the head.
Excellent, excellent. And I've just ordered, I noticed I got an email about the earth tones,
Oh
and I've
yes.
just ordered the pack of earth tones.
Oh,
So
fantastic. You're going to
so
enjoy
that
them.
is
You're going
right,
to love them.
that's right up my alley as far as landscape and that sort of thing. So
We just came
I
out
tend
with,
to,
we got the 1 mils now.
oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we've just come out with them in the blacks and the
Yep.
whites, and they're good for fine line,
Yeah.
for those finer work that
Oh,
you've
great.
said. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, we're going to hopefully have the full range in the 1 mil. Um, but right now we've just kind of done the blacks and the whites, and then we've got the
Okay.
earth colors, and then we'll come out with some brush tips hopefully. And
Okay.
actually, that's a question what would you've already given me great idea with the water pens. I love that, and I've written a note down. What about
Okay. Cool.
any other products out there, or if you if you wanted to go to one store and get everything, what surf paint's missing?
Let me have a look at the kit. Um, you include in the kit a whole lot of stuff. I'd say masks, like
Okay.
masking, that sort of thing.
Do you
Because I
do you
know
wear
with
face masks?
pardon?
Do you wear face masks?
Yes, yeah. It definitely when I'm sanding or if I use the airbrushing and that sort of thing. So, but I know with the surf paints, basically they're not aerosol, so you don't really need face masks. But what I was referring to was like you include masking tape, a low tack
Low
masking tape.
low tack. Why is that?
So that I know that when you apply it over the top of the surf paints, you have to be very careful of pulling that off, not pulling your color off underneath. The low tack will give you the masking,
Yep.
and it doesn't stick it won't pull the. I'm losing my words. I'm
No, no,
thinking
you're
in
doing
pictures
great.
now. Yeah, won't pull the paint off from underneath.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and also with the surf paints, you can have the nib reasonably dry, as in not flood the surface. So if you flood the surface, it will bleed underneath the mask,
yes.
but you can have it reasonably dry. So you just skim that and then pull your mask off. But yeah, like a low tack, a painting masking tape sort of thing.
Yeah,
That's all I can think
and the water
of at the
pen.
moment. Yeah. And the water pens, yes.
All right. Well, hey, you've been absolutely fantastic, and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to, tell us your experience. Um,
Yep.
I think we've covered everything. Like I'm just looking at some of these, what I would like to ask. You've talked about multiple surfaces. We've talked about varnishes. You've told me about other brands, which was really good about the
Yep.
too watery to too gluggy. I suppose the last thing that I would want you to express is if you were someone that had seen surf paints online like yourself, you'd seen an ad pop up on Facebook or you'd seen social
Yep.
media post, what would you tell them if they were hesitant to buy? If they were like, I've heard of surf paints, it looks cool, but how are they different to any other brand? And why would I purchase from Surf Paints?
I'd basically say, give it a go. It doesn't hurt to learn something new and use something new. You'll be surprised at what you can achieve with it. If you've got the imagination, just go for it. Just do it. Yeah. Yeah. That's all I can say is
I love
don't hesitate. They're
Yeah.
really forgiving. They're really forgiving. There's no way you can make a mistake. Yeah, they're really easy to use and really easy to correct your mistakes if you think that you've made one. So yeah, just do it.
That's perfect. We get
Yeah,
so
just
many people,
enthusiasm.
we get so many people trying them, and I ask them that question, and you get all sorts, and a lot of them just say, "Why not? Just experiment, try what's out there," and that's pretty much what
Yeah,
you're doing.
yeah.
So I love that.
There's so many different art materials and things out there.
Hmm.
If you have a particular project in mind, give them a go. And also the kit it's all self-contained. Um, just pick up and go. I've taken it to Queensland and with kids in Queensland and so okay, what are these? Okay, pull them out, have a go. You clean up with water, so you don't need to have solvents or anything like that. Just some bar of soap and some water. Just clean it up and away you go. Um, yeah, so clean up and pack up is really easy as well. Preparation, a little bit of preparation with
Yeah.
sanding and that sort of stuff, but you don't need spray booths or masks or anything like that. It's just pick up a pen and paint.
Perfect.
What more can you want?
What more could you want?
Yep.
Um, I'm just gonna pause the recording because it's just about to run out. 1 second.
You're right.